So you're getting tattooed, right, Tom? Soon again.
Yes.
What are you gonna get?
I am getting a traditional punk with the words around it, pack your fistful of hate. If any ceremony fans are listening in, that is inspired by one of their best songs, Cursed. The full lyric is pack your fistful of hate and take a swing at the world.
I think you should get a Scorpion with a Sun by Creepy Jason on your throat. I think that's what you should get.
To be honest, I do not think I have it in me to get a throat tattoo. No.
I'm looking again. Right. Look, I am so. Thank you to the listeners of the podcast for putting up with no tattoo history and for this episode being a bit late because I had a little accident. It was the first week of term. I was coming home from campus. I was tired. I got on a little electric scooter because I'm cool. I was riding like the wind until I hit a pothole at full speed, 13 miles an hour. Came off, broke my elbow, slashed my chin on my watch, sprained both my wrists, and destroyed my dignity and Tom's carefully planned schedule for the release of this podcast in the process. So apologies to anyone who's listening for and Tom, if you hopefully you listened to the episode that Tom and the amazing Sinead did last week. Normal service will be resumed. But, you know, I've been days, I've not had enough sleep. I was in A&E all night. Like, I've been also term started. I've been teaching new students. It's all very, very hectic. And then Tom, once again, made me watch Ink Master. So I rushed home from work today, tired, you know, like still sore, exhausted. And I had to watch Ink Master, Tom. Why are you doing this to me? Why?
One thing I'm gonna say is two things. One, I've never heard anyone talk about using electric scooters other than when they have accidents. I've literally never heard anyone mention them unless they've hurt themselves. And two, this episode wasn't too bad. Wasn't too bad.
Well, you and I can talk about that.
Which is exactly why we're sitting here recording. So what is you're very welcome to Beneath the Skin, the show about the history of everything told through the history of tattooing. I almost forgot to introduce it.
There we go.
I am one of your hosts, Thomas O'Mahony, and I'm joined by my slowly recovering, slowly geriatric co-host, Dr. Matthew Lodder.
Cool. Hello. Cool scooter riding legend.
Actually, I have a bone to pick before we start this. On the Maya episode, unfortunately, I pronounced Maya's name incorrectly at the start. But you said I can't say your name correctly. How do you pronounce it in your Anglo tone?
That was a joke. That was a joke. Only because, you know, fiddle-dee-dee.
Yeah. This is once again anti-Irish sentiment from my left-wing academic co-host.
Allegedly.
So, Matt, what is the theme of this week?
Well, this week, I've learned again. This has been a good art lesson for me. This week is contrast. Once again, my first note in my notebook about this is not about Ink Master straightforwardly or the content of the show. It's about Joel Madden's not hat this week, but hoodie.
Oh, his MDDN branded Madden hoodie.
Yeah. Joel Madden was wearing a hoodie that said Mudden on it. And I said to Layla, my long-suffering carer, basically, at this point, wife, lover.
Insert Borat, my wife joke.
Yeah, I said, should I get a T-shirt or a shirt printed or a hoodie or just a line of merch even? Maybe a beneath the skin line of merch of shirts that say Ludder.
LDDR. Funnily enough, you mentioned that. I'm actually getting 2 of 2 Beneath the Skin t-shirts printed this weekend, one for me and one for Matt.
What would yours be?
To be honest, it would probably be the exact same as anyone in this country pronounces my name. So, you know.
So it's like he can't spell his own name.
But that's the cool like tech industry thing of, you know, remove all the vowels, make it nice and sleek.
What would Mudden be like?
I have a joke in my head that I cannot say for legal reasons, so I will tell you off
Is
mic.
it another?
Matt,
Okay.
I want to ask first. So since it's contrast week, can you please give, and this, I feel like we should feature this going forward. Can you give the art historian definition for contrast?
Well, I learned from this week that contrast is not just contrast of Dyke and Lark, but also of shape and not shape, like formlessness. I don't know. Once again, the theme, they're making it up. They're making the theme up. Yeah, it makes no sense. It has nothing to do with anything that anyone does.
But what is the academic answer? Can you give me the technical answer?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I think if we were talking about contrast in a sort of strictly sense about painting or image making, it really is. You know, it is a definition between light and dark, between shade and light. You know, again, we didn't really get a lot of that here, but yeah, that was
the dichotomy between representation and meaning.
Yeah, exactly, Thomas. Yeah. So yeah, that basically that's how contrast. I think would be like the contrast on your telly, like the contrast on your monitor. Like it's this balance between light and dark, essentially. There's lots of technical ways we can talk about that in our historical terms, like things like chiaroscuro. The very dark.
I looked it up
by Caravaggio. Did you? Oh,
yes. So it is the difference in the concentration of values.
Yeah, well, I suppose so. Yeah, I mean, if you're talking, I guess that would be in a kind of technical sense for the contrast of a monitor or a television. If you're talking about like the RGB or the hex values of color, yeah. That doesn't really work for painting. Yeah, that doesn't really. That would work for printing or for like, or for monitors. I don't think that would really work for like painting. But yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so we're on contrast week. Flash Challenge has returned. We find out that Katie is sick, so she will not be participating. I personally want to bring this up because if Katie was there would be an uneven number of competitors, and they're paired in teams of 2. Unless they were going to pair them in teams of 3, I think maybe they gave her an opportunity. It's like, look, if you want to sit this one out, if you're not feeling well, fair enough. We've said, what is the treatment of the contestants in this season if there's constantly people either out sick or leaving the show for health reasons
or abandoning their children? Anthony, has Anthony gone home to feed his child? We don't know. He wasn't eliminated last week. We've heard that he's just regained custody. Not mentioned this week. We don't know.
No, maybe it's like a bring your kid to work day, like his kid is like wiping down the tattoos and they've just like keyframed him out of the picture.
I'm just imagining this child, like his dad was due back home at 7 p.m. about 3 weeks ago. And he's there like, Daddy, when will you come home? Just like staring at the door, like wasting away.
This series is just a meditation on child neglect. So the challenge this week is they are given gunpowder, but technically I will be a stickler on this. It's not gunpowder, it's flash powder. Gunpowder creates combustion, so it's designed to propel stuff forward. This could be flash powder, which is designed to create smoke and a spark. So they're given 2 canvases, and with contrast, they have to use gunpowder, we'll call it gunpowder, to lay out a design and then combust it, and then use the varying shades of burn marks from the gunpowder to create a contrasting design.
Yeah, and I didn't know who said it. I didn't write down, but I did write down. Someone said this is almost like tattooing.
Almost.
Is it?
Almost.
I think it might have been Bob, actually. So this normally being a tattoo history podcast, let's talk about tattoo history a bit quickly with gunpowder. So there's a couple of interesting things. Number one of the theories about why sailors were getting into tattooing, one of the kind of origin stories potentially, although it seems pretty implausible, is that people were getting powder burns. So loading cannon or loading musket and explosion fired particle, the particles of gunpowder unburnt ended up under the skin, causing a wound, healing, and leaving a mark. That does actually happen occasionally with like people. There's some photos online of people making like homemade muskets and homemade projectile weapons, and they're going off in their hands, and they're ending up with basically these big black powder flashes on their hands. Doesn't seem very plausible, but that's something that people do say. That said, gunpowder definitely was used as a tattoo ink, in dilution, probably in an alcohol on board ships, because it will stay on your skin. The great other story about this is recently this kid was trying to build one of these homemade like projectile weapons, went off in his hand, had a big powder flash burn on his hand. And so they were like, okay, how are we going to get rid of this? How do we get rid of tattoos? Laser. So the story in this paper is that they lasered off this gunpowder, and it was exploding under his skin because it hadn't exploded. And this is in a medical paper, so it's pretty legit. I just love this. There's a sense in the paper of the authors going, "Oh shit, we didn't think this through."
Yeah, that seems like a sketch from a comedy show. We're gonna explode this child's skin.
Yeah, and it's like I'll see if I can find the see if I can find the photo of it while we're recording, just so you can see like this hilarious photo of this kid. Right. Because he doesn't look very happy with himself, and it's like literally a teenager. Where are we? This is it. I think treatment of gunpowder. Treatment of traumatic gunpowder by Q-switched ND-NAG laser from December 2000. An unusual advert. The actual title of the paper, here we go. So this is published in Dermatologic Surgery in December 2000 by T. Fusade, Gérard Tubel, C. Grognard, and J.M. Mazer.
Who says you don't learn anything on this show?
Exactly. And that was published in 2000. And this is the abstract of the paper. I've got it actually on my computer, but there we go. Full text available, download. So the Q-switched ND-YAG laser can completely eliminate traumatic tattoos. We report the results of the unsuccessful removal of traumatic tattoos among 3 patients with dermal inclusions of gunpowder who were shot at close range. Treatment was tried in each patient with a Q-switch laser at medium fluence. During the treatment of our patients, each pulse provoked sparks and the immediate formation of bleeding transepidermal pits. Right? If you haven't yet started your metal band, you can have transepidermal pits or bleeding transepidermal pits as the name of your band.
Funnily enough, I was in the gym yesterday evening and I was wearing a t-shirt from a great band called Blood Incantation. And I was waiting to do a lat pull down on the lat pull down machine. And the guy who was using it was like, "Oh, if you want to jump in while I'm resting, you can." And I was like, "Oh, cool." And very typical like death metal t-shirt, has that type of font. And the guy just asked me, he's like, "Oh, what band is that?" And I'm like, this is a guy who I would not expect to know anything about, death metal. I was like, "Oh, it's a band called Blood Incantation." He was like, "Oh, are they anything like Cradle of Filth?" And I was like, "A little bit." And he was like, "Oh, cool." And he was like, I'll check them out. And then he said to me later on, he was like, "Oh, I will listen to that band. It's really cool."
He was hitting on you. So his like academic speech for I'll translate. So they say, we hypothesize that the rapid transfer of high energy pulses to powder particles creates micro explosions of these fragments, resulting in cavitation and provoking transepidermal holes and subsequent scars. In English, that's like, we fired gunpowder under your skin with laser and it fucking exploded.
Jesus Christ.
There we go.
But anyway, back to the episode.
We're learning. There you go. Let's see.
We are. So the pairs of teams are Bob and Gian. Oh no, it's Pawn and Gian. Jason and Tony, Angel and Bob, and DJ and Anthony.
Anthony, correct.
So what do you think of these teams?
Well, my other quote that I wrote. So DJ and Anthony, DJ said, "Let's think out the tattoo flash box. Like, let's do something really like crazy and out there. Let's do a candle."
Skulls and candles. Never seen them before.
Once again, proving my hypothesis that you give tattooists a blank bit of paper and they'll do you a skull or a heart or let's like the wildest, craziest thing that they could think of was a candle.
Yeah, so like,
and then they didn't even just do it. Then they did a skull.
Yeah, and like, funny enough, so like, Bob and Angel did like a werewolf type thing. Gian and Pawn did a traditional Sacred Heart design. DJ and Anthony, it didn't actually even show them designing it at all. It was like, and then my favorite is Tony and Jason, because Tony was like, "I hope I don't get put with Jason. He seems like a complete dick." And then they're talking about like, "Oh, what if we did like a stoner metal wizard?" And I tried to take a screenshot of Paramount Plus's whatever security software they have, won't let you screenshot it. But I was like, if you ever want to see a picture of two people who enjoy smoking weed and listen to stoner metal, it's like Jason in his big blue pea coat with the fur and like the hat, and Tony just there like dressed like a motorcycle cholo.
Yeah, again, I wrote quotes. "I love wizards."
I do. Do you know what? I need to talk about this, because I was tweeting about it. It's like, I love wizards. I love like pictures of wizards. Funnily enough, on TikTok, there's kind of like this trend of like the type of stuff I've been on recently, and it's like pictures of wizards, and it's like people talking about what they've been doing recently. But like, as soon as I heard them say that, I was like, you know what? I want to go listen to, Reefer Sutherland by Bong Ripper, Electric Wizard, and of course the gods, Dope Smoker by Sleep. Funnily enough, like, the album art for that was done by Eric Roper. Incredible, design, and he does like all of the kind of like stoner rock, stoner metal kind of art. And that song, it's an album, but it's one song that's 63 minutes long and is incredible. But I used to so I had to get the bus home from college quite a lot when I was younger. So that's like a 2.5 hour bus. And you can imagine like like fully packed coach at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So what I used to do was put on Dope Smoker, and I would be asleep within 20 minutes. And I had listened to that album so many times, and it was only maybe about 6 months later that I actually listened to it like fully awake. And it is like, what other lyrics than "Set Forth the Weedians," "Nazareth," it like,
I'm not a weed guy. Makes me feel
Neither
sick.
Am
I. And slow music not good for someone with ADHD in general. So it's the wrong end of the sort of speed dial for me. When I started getting tattooed, early 2000s, the wizard thing was like, it was very kind of old. It was like very out of fashion. There were some tattooers who were desperate to bring wizards back. Some of whom turned out to be neo-Nazis. Is there a connection there? But they were sort of doing ironic wizards. But you can tell me, as our resident youth.
I was about to say this podcast is decidedly pro-wizard, but after you saying that, I'm not too sure anymore.
Oh, see, look, you are our resident youth correspondent, Thomas. You are on TikTok. Tell me if the kids are into wizards again, or what did Jason say? Like magic users, sorcerers, male witches.
Yeah, like the youth are, I think, by the rate of like, so women are into like, and this is a gross over like generalization, but like,
women,
astrology,
females,
female identifying people. We want to be inclusive here, but are into, crystals, astrology, that sort of thing. Dudes need to get into wizards. We need to bring back wizards, big hats, big cloaks. I want to see Matt Lauder rocking up to his book launch in a big cloak, although I feel like that's not completely out of your wheelhouse to do that either.
Nah, I'd rock a cloak. I mean, yeah, like I'm glad to see the return of the wizard. I'm happy for that. I'm happy with that. I'll go with it. There are definitely some fashy wizards around, but I will I'll lean into it. I'm happy for it. I was, yeah, as I said, I one of the quotes I wrote down, I love wizards. So yeah, I'm happy with that.
If you want some non-fascist wizards, just read stuff like Ursula K. Le Guin, Wizards of Earthsea canon, get some good non-neo-Nazi wizards.
Yeah, do read Ursula K. Le Guin. Read The Lathe of Heaven by her, which hasn't got any wizards in it at all, but is excellent. I also, to be fair, right, again, although whoever it was, I think it was Bob, who said this is almost like tattooing, it isn't. My standing critique of these ridiculous fast challenges is that they have nothing to do with tattooing at all. I thought it was pretty cool, and I thought they worked nicely, and yeah, I enjoyed them, and I thought they were all super impressive. I thought so. Obviously, Pon and Jian won with their Sacred Heart. That seemed to me to look a lot better close up than it did far away. And that was probably the opposite of some of the other ones. So I'm surprised that wasn't my favorite of them all. But I was genuinely impressed actually with all of them. I mean, again,
yeah, I would suppose general critiques, Angel and Bob's, it was interesting. It was very readable. It just was quite flat in my mind. DJ and Anthony's was just super muddy. It was very hard. It wasn't very readable. The Sacred Heart was really good design, really good use of the materials they had. I am very pro wizard, so I do think Jason and Tony were robbed. I think, for the use of the materials, they made the best use of them, but Bob and Gian won.
Yeah, Pon and Gian won. I think that's ultimately fine. I thought it was funny, as I said, that they were going to do a think out of the box and do a candle, and they did a skull and some candle. But I think they were all super interesting, and I'd never seen that done before, the laser thing. So the laser thing, the gunpowder thing. So fair play, producers. It looked cool. Let's talk about Toad.
And for anyone who has complained to me that we don't talk about the drama in the show, the drama is completely uninteresting and forced, so we do not care.
I don't even notice the drama, really. I don't get, the only emotional jeopardy that I have watching this program is how Anthony's children are doing and whether they're getting fed. That's that.
Or how much psychological damage this show is causing you.
Yeah, I'm really into the meta game, I'm really interested in the meta game here. I'm interested in the merch opportunities, whether Joel Madden can spell his own name. I'm interested in how Anthony's children are doing, whether he'll retain custody. I'm interested in still really how creepy Jason really is. I don't really notice any of the drama in the program, and I think actually that's probably in a way to the producers' credit, because I think they could make a lot more of it if they wanted to, I'm sure, but they haven't done, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. Hey, are you enjoying the show? If you really like Beneath the Skin and you want to help support us, you can do so on Patreon. For little as £5 a month, you can help make this show possible, help us buy research materials. So if you like the show and you want to support us, consider kicking us a few quid a month, and you'll get everything from bonus episodes to Q&As, and you can even vote on what tattoo I'll get when we reach a certain subscriber count. Matt, have you got anything to say?
You should really definitely fund the Patreon, because tattoo history is massive, right? Deep, wide, complicated. We're covering some big hit topics on the main feed, but on the Patreon subscriber-only feed, we'll be getting into some really more interesting, niche, deep topics you don't want to miss out on. And honestly, the chance to kind of decide what Thomas gets on his body is probably just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Subscribe, chuck us a few quid. Don't miss out on the chance to ruin Thomas's body forever.
Everyone knows that tattoo aftercare is one of the most important steps in getting a new tattoo. We all want our fresh new tattoos to heal as easily and hassle-free as possible, so we can show them off to the world.
That's why Saniderm's here to help. Driven by science and innovation, Saniderm products have been thoroughly tested and used by doctors and tattoo artists alike for over 10 years.
Saniderm brings cutting-edge technology to make your tattoo healing process a breeze. No more messing around with cleaning and plastic every few hours with Saniderm's amazing range of aftercare products. I personally have used Saniderm to heal my tattoos in the past, and they made what used to be a daily process of setting reminders on my phone to clean and rewrap my tattoo into a one-step process.
Their medical grade products include aftercare balms, soaps, and my favourite, their second skin aftercare bandages. Saniderm's tattoo bandages are designed to be waterproof, breathable, and keep your new tattoo protected from whatever the elements can throw at it, so you can get on with your day, worry-free, and confident your new tattoo will look vibrant and will heal faster.
Plus, their products are all natural and ethically sourced, so you can take comfort in knowing that you're healing your tattoos with nature's finest ingredients.
So next time you're in an artist's chair, why not try Saniderm, healing your tattoos the modern way so you can get on with your day.
Check out the link in the description of this episode for discounts on a range of Saniderm products or for more information. So then we move on to the elimination tattoo. Katie's back. We love to see Katie back because Katie is a great tattoo artist. So it is announced that this week's elimination tattoo is in Ryan Ashley's style. They make a big deal of the fact that, you know, Ryan Ashley won the show, despite my feelings that Gian should have won it that year, but she is a judge now. So she sets the challenge, and it is black and grey bug tattoos.
And then everyone goes, whoa, no way, bug tattoos, what? Like as if it was the most outrageous thing. All these like slow motion shots of going, oh my God. And once again, right, black and grey, as if, I mean, basically, like, we've talked about this already, so we don't need to go over it again, but like, they're not really doing anything very interesting with the styles, and then the tattooers don't really stick to it anyway, you know. So
I'm gonna talk about that later on because I did have beef with it. But then we have Master of Chaos, Dave Navarro, come down from the ceiling. He's trapped in the TV like a wizard trapped in a crystal. You know, this is great with the wizard theme. You know, so
like Max Headroom, and then
yes, exactly.
And then Joe Madden was like, but wait, we've got the judge's style, and we've got the creepy crawly bugs.
Oh, and then
what else?
Dave Navarro saying you have to do it on someone's throat.
Yeah, that was the first. Sorry, I was the first time in this program, and there were more to come. Where I went, absolutely get the fuck out. No, like fuck off. I watched it with Layla. Like absolutely fuck no. Like what the fuck? And my exact notes, I wrote bug tattoos were throat, no, get fucked. That was my note to self.
So like you're not essentially. With a throat tattoo, we should probably like set the scene for people. Matt is showing me his throat tattoo right now. So essentially anything that is from the inner side of the sides of your neck, from your clavicle to the bottom of your chin, is considered the throat tattoo. So if you get something on the side of your neck, essentially in line with your ear or the side of your jaw, that's a neck tattoo. Whereas a throat tattoo is essentially like your palm on your neck from your clavicle to your chin.
We're learning anatomy with Tom O'Mahony. So once again, I think it's brilliantly ethical to give people tattoos on their throats in a very limited amount of time in a style that the artists aren't comfortable with. I think that's perfectly fine, Thomas. It didn't make me furious at all.
Yeah. As the owner of a throat tattoo, do you want to talk me through? Actually, well, I suppose technically you have 3 throat tattoos. Like
yeah, well, I've got the side of my neck. I mean, it's also not super high up. This I had done. So I was tattooed by an American artist, traditional artist called Mark Cross, who was guesting at Frisk Street Tattoo at the time. And the day before, I'd had exploratory surgery on my jaw. I've had a lot of surgery on my jaw. I've had the whole bottom of my head like reattached, basically. So I've had a lot of jaw surgery. That was like one of the first things I had to do was like do some exploratory surgery. When I came round from the anaesthetic, the nurse said to me, sort of as a joke, like, ha ha ha, I hope you haven't got any tattoo appointments booked soon, because one of the things that the anaesthetic you're on does is lower your inhibitions. and you might get something silly. And I was like, ha ha ha, knowing I had an appointment with Mark Book the next day. So I went in just to get, and Mark's an amazing flash artist, does a kind of interesting twist on traditional. And I just picked this cross and heart piece, and was like, hi, I'd like that on my throat, please. And he was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah. And then because I was full of like hardcore general dental anesthetic and the recovery drugs, I fell asleep while I was getting my throat tattooed. And Mark, and it was only a couple of hours. It's a traditional piece. It's not massive. But Mark was like, it's never happened to me before. No one's ever fallen asleep getting their throat tattooed. So maybe my experience is not easily translatable to the general throat experience. But the artist that I had tattooed my throat, I chose him to do it. He was tattooing in a style that he was comfortable with, and I already have loads of tattoos. Because the other thing that really, really like made me shout at the television and shout at you for making me watch this fucking show, Thomas, is that like quite a few people, most of the people, in fact, in that lineup who are on this show to get probably, I mean, all of them, even the good ones, are not going to be as good a throat tattoo as you're going to get in a studio by an artist who's doing it with as much time as they need to do it.
And funny enough, Matt, I have actually consulted a tattoo artist for their opinions on doing throat tattoos. So let me grab my phone and I'll read it out to you.
Well, these people did not have hardly any of them. Some of them did, but most of them did not have any visible tattoos at all. And I'm like, absolutely fuck the producer of this program for even suggesting this, because it is just not good. Like, and I think it was Tony. He was like, oh, if I mess this tattoo up, I'm going home. It's like, no, if you mess this tattoo up, that person's got a shit tattoo on their fucking throat, man. Fuck the competition.
And like particularly as well that like, a throat tattoo is a job stopper, like hands, neck, face, that's what it is. But Lee, who does my tattoos, I messaged him and asked him, I'm recording Ink Master episode later on and challenge throat tattoos. What's your thoughts on them? Designing them, tattooing them, whatever comes to mind. And he sent 3 cry laugh emojis. I was a bit of a headache, but they're okay if someone is prepped and knows what to expect, but only if you're obviously committed to tattoos, obviously have a lot others and whatnot. Refuse to do them otherwise. Can be extremely painful and can take a lot of time because people's pain thresholds are quite different, and essentially that they take longer because you have to account for the fact that people are in so much pain.
Yeah, and they're breathing and swallowing and like, yeah. And so
imagine the ribs times 100.
The people who are on that program, obviously, they are in control of their own bodies. They're getting a nice free tattoo, like. But I just think it's so unethical. Given, as I said, the whole mechanic of the program is for the 2 of the tattooers, or one of the tattooers who won this Flash Challenge, to make the other people do shit tattoos. And I just think, like, I just hate that, man. Like, I'm joking about it, but like, I hate it. Like, it's so horrible.
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm sorry.
It's
I'm
so horrible.
Inflicting this on you. Do you want to run us through what designs they're presented with for the skull picks?
Yeah, I think once again this is again an interesting production theme. They don't actually always, like this happened last week with the White House in Quebec. They don't actually always tell you what every contestant has picked, and I have to go watch it 2 or 3 times to go, who got that one? They don't sort of say, oh, Bob gets the... And like, that again seems like a weird production decision for a show about tattooing. But like, anyway, I wrote down, and I probably missed some, a bee in a web. Why a bee in a web? Why not a fly in a web or a bee? Like, why a bee on a web? That's just weird. Scorpion with a sun. A black widow spider with flowers.
Wait, no, you're missing a feminine black widow spider with florals and a lacy web.
Correct, thank you.
What if spiders were sexy, Matt?
A grasshopper.
Pretty sure there's corners of the internet that have that prepared for you if you are willing to look it up.
A grasshopper with geometric designs. A beetle with flowers and open wings, a dragonfly, a wolf spider, and then I think, although they didn't actually say it, I'm presuming a death's head moth, which is what Pond did.
Yeah, a death head moth, well, a death moth, whatever you'd like to call it.
Yeah, but they didn't actually like film the guy saying that, and I was like, I've only got 7 things here. What's going on?
I mean, it's a tattoo challenge. You can almost assume if they don't show one, it's going to be a death moth.
So DJ got the wolf spider, Anthony got the grasshopper, Tony got the dragonfly, Creepy Jason got the scorpion on a guy who had like some real shit, like self-done or half-lasered shit on his arm and nothing else.
He had one tattoo that he sat for 2.5 hours.
Absolutely.
And is about to sit for 6 hours getting a throat tattoo.
Yeah, completely bare arms, pretty much, like unacceptable. Angel doing the bee, Bob doing the grasshopper. No, what was Bob doing? The dragonfly. That's it. Thank you. Gian doing the beetle thing. Pond doing Death's Head Moth, and Katie doing the Black Widow spider. And again, right. So the style brief was like black and grey, but the tattoos today spanned our standard categories that we've had. The traditional. I mean, none of them were particularly realistic, but that was one that was, it was closer to realistic than anything else. So again, just annoying to me. Like, oh god,
and like the one thing I need to point out, like immediately, Jason decided to do his scorpion freehand as well. So his thought process was, now bear in mind he did that head-to-head with Steve and absolutely like knocked it out of the park with a freehand black and grey creepy spider thing. So it's kind of in his wheelhouse, and his justification is he can probably work quicker if he just freehands it rather than try and do a stencil. So everyone, I have to say, Jason is dealing with his client like he's preparing the guy for, this is going to hurt a lot and I'm going to need you to work with me to try and stay still. And like everyone kind of seems to have like a little bit of discomfort. Some people deal with it better or not, but repeatedly the producers cut to shots of like Jason's client really going through it, like having to take breaks. I really felt for this guy because I've had tattoos that are difficult, never in a place as bad as the throat, and you have to take a break. But like,
I'm pretty heavily tattooed, right? But I couldn't fucking sit for 5 hours with someone tattooing my throat. No way.
Yeah, no, totally not able. So we get to the critiques. First up is Angel with her bee caught in a web. I thought this was really clean. The contrast was great. The background was a little bit weak, underutilized. The kind of background elements, the web was like a little bit flimsy, and it was asymmetrical as well.
Yeah, they said it wasn't symmetrical, which, yeah, I mean, like, again, why are you putting a bee in a web? It's just a weird image. But like, I thought it was good. I mean, one of the things, and this is again really my own biases more than anything to do with the tattooers, but I really, I just think like, especially on a throat, I want a tattoo, and there was a couple this week that really did do this, but like, I want a tattoo that's readable from a distance, doesn't just look like a kind of mess on your neck. And I think so much of those, like that bee is a good example. I think it has so much fine stuff in it that your neck is like, it's not ever going to heal perfectly because it's moving around anyway. You might have to get touch-ups. I guess these guys aren't going to get touch-ups probably because they probably don't live near where the tattooers are. So it's a one and done kind of deal. It's moving around, so it's not going to heal very well. And it's constantly in the sun, right? So you're always getting UV light on it. So it's going to fade more than another tattoo elsewhere in your body. And so doing this very, very intricate stuff that hasn't got a big, not heavy line, I really worry about. And your neck, you see old people with like big mottly necks. Like it's the kind of skin that ages quickly, really shows your age. I just think like all that very, very fine detail ain't gonna look great. It's your that bit of your body also changes a lot with weight gain and loss. My weight's been pretty stable for a long time, but if I put on a few kilograms or lose a few kilograms, it's really visible around my jawline. And like all of that stuff is just not conducive to having a really lovely detailed tattoo. And again, that's partly is my my prejudices, because I like traditional that is, bold will hold, that uses negative space, that is heavy lined. And I just worry.
So what you should take away from this is fully expect the Beneath the Skin skincare range to come out, co-sponsored by Dr. Matt Lauder. Sponsored and approved by doctors.
See, there you go. That's you not pronouncing my name properly.
It doesn't matter. Approved by doctors. Doctors of what? Who knows? Dr. Nick, who knows? But, if you want your tattoos and your...
Approved by doctors of art history.
So specifically, it's to be used to preserve your tattoos and your neck skin. Matt has a lovely taut neck.
Your wattle.
Showing it off on camera. So next we have DJ. DJ's tattoo is really good. Like, I think he kind of nailed Ryan Ashley's style of kind of like very. It looks delicate, like all not light, but it looks delicate and fragile.
See,
like
that I wrote in my notes for this one, like that I thought made it look a bit weak, because it was brilliantly done. It was super soft and like from the little I've seen of his work, like a bit out of his usual repertoire, which is good. It was a lovely piece of work. Again, it felt kind of fragile. And maybe that is, also it was really stylistically discordant with the tattoos on the person's body. And that was true of most of these people. The style, a lot of these people who did have visible tattoos around on their chest already, or their necks, were like weird new school or color stuff, and like having a big black and grey neck tattoo just looked very discordant and weird.
Also, I will come out hard against asymmetry on a neck tattoo with placement on the body, and this is me bringing like gym physiology into it, that the way the muscles like flow on the body with the neck, when you turn your head, it will contort the skin, certain muscles will pop more. I just think, do not put an asymmetrical tattoo on your throat. Like, he had such a good opportunity.
Look how much
to
that changes on my throat here. Again, so it's a bit lower down. It doesn't get all the way up under my chin, but like, that is a kind of symmetrical heart and cross, and it's like it's all over the place. So.
Like, he had such a good opportunity. Like, with the skill that he has, you could have had the spider like flat with the legs splayed out, and it would have been a really good tattoo. But I think the judges kind of, it looks like it's crawling up the web. I think is a bit of a cop out, to be honest. The lighting, the use of lighting in it is good, but I just think asymmetrical throat tattoos, bunk.
Well, I agree with you. The judges said this one. It's a good tattoo. I just worry. It's certainly not readable from a distance, and I don't know if it's going to heal very well. Maybe it will. Who knows?
Then we move on to Anthony. Like, the black is super punched in on this. Great use of textures. Like, I think he did a fantastic job of combining, geometric elements with, a very like, I wouldn't say delicate, but like a very well composed idea, and like made the two designs flow together in my mind.
Yeah, like, again, I think I'm not an entomologist, Jim. I'm an art historian. I don't know it didn't look like a grasshopper to me, but I don't know what grasshopper. I realized I didn't know what grasshoppers look like, and I certainly haven't looked at one from the top with its wings out. So,
if you're one of the hundreds of people who listen to this show who have PhDs, there's probably going to be someone who has like a PhD in whatever ology includes insects. Entomology, messaging, let us know.
Don't confuse entomology, which is the study of insects, and etymology, which is the study of words. So it's a very awkward conference if you get that typo.
So Jason, once not black and grey, I'm going to say that much. It was a good tattoo. It wasn't black and grey. No, just not at all. It was a good tattoo. I'll give him that, and given how difficult it was, I'd give him that, but it's not black and grey. Like, in any other season, he'd get dinged for this.
Yeah, I was disappointed because he does weird, creepy bug things, and like the canvas was not. Also, the half circle, the sun thing was all very oddly lined and a bit janky, and like given that he was probably closest. It was closest to his style from anyone else. I was really like, oh mate. But then again, like, I don't know. I just. they made some good points that it did look good as a neck tattoo. The guy had a big thick neck. He had some double chins, and like it was nicely placed, cleverly done. But like, I just think, I mean, yeah, like I'm repeating myself here, but like this guy who just didn't have any tattoos at all has now got to walk around with a big janky neck tattoo, like throat tattoo.
Like as someone who is in the possession of a very wide neck, I took offense with them saying that, oh, they gave this guy a neck where he didn't have one before. But yeah, I didn't necessarily like the bits that came up onto the chin. I thought that was like a little bit too much and kind of like took away from the overall tattoo. But you know, and we move on to Tony Tone, our favorite, well, my favorite, with the dragonfly. I just thought this was beautiful.
Was this your favorite of the episode?
Yeah, it was. That and throw it up between that and Gian. Although I have my issues with Gian in like the context of the challenge, but like both of them great tattoos. Like Tony, once again, like he said to the judges, "Oh, you know, I don't do black and grey." It was like it's clearly he's able to, and he's able to do it quite well.
He feels to me, and he made some decisions in previous weeks where, like, clearly he's making decisions for the benefit of the tattoo and not the competition. And I think all credit to that guy for doing that.
Tony, the most ethical competitor on Ink Master. Move on to Katie. My notes say wonky, too much time spent stipple shading, and very disconnected.
Yeah, the judge's critique of this was like 3 separate tattoos. Totally right. I mean, I think in a way it was the most. It was. I think we'll talk about the 3 that are left: Gian, Pon, and Katie separately. But I thought the flowers, I think, were awesome for a throat tattoo. Like freaking great. Like I love that style.
Also very good, like in the style of like Ryan Ashley style black and grey. Those flowers are like spot on. It's just you know.
Yeah, and I think she was right as well. Yeah, I think she was right that that web was like bloodlined in grey, so it will heal differently to how it looks. And she'd made that point in her defense with the judges, and I think she was right to do so. But it was compositionally, it was too small. I mean, this is the other thing with the time limit, right? Like that was a tattoo that was doable within 4.5, 5 hours. It needed, for the neck it was on and the composition that she was going for, it deserved to be bigger. Like if you're putting a big freaking, or actually weirdly, or smaller, funnily enough, like you need to do it like this scale, the size of mine, that's like not taking up the whole freaking throat, or you need to make it much bigger. But like compositionally, and because the balance between the flowers and the spider in the middle didn't work, it did feel off. And again, like it's not a terrible tattoo, and I think the person who's got it will be pleased to wear it, but like, you know, I just think if that person had gone to her shop,
the antenna were wonky. You know, I think it could have been a very good tattoo, but just some poor decisions made. Then we move on to Gian. Great color work, great detail. This is a neo-trad tattoo, not a black and grey realism tattoo. I'm sorry, I do not care. You're what you think. This is not a black and grey, particularly black and grey in the style of Ryan Ashley tattoo. This is just a black neo-trad tattoo. You know, that is just it.
And it was the only one of these, and this was my favorite. Like, it was the only one of all of them that actually read good, like from every angle. I think he was the only one they showed side profile pictures of the neck with it on, because the wings or the features coming out of the beetle like just looked wicked. Like he did a great amount of stuff in the time in terms of style, shading, compositionally. It was wicked. Yeah, it wasn't black and grey. Didn't even really look much like a beetle. I mean, but it all looked good. It will work. If that person carries on and gets much more heavily tattooed, it will look wicked as a tattoo.
Also as well,
which is really what I care about.
Like Gian, Bob, Anthony, they're kind of the only ones, and you know, Angels as well. Well, actually, no, not Angel. Were the only ones that actually used the body part that it was on to their advantage. Everyone else, it seems to be like they tried to fit the design to the neck, where they used the natural curvature of the neck, the chin, the jaw to actually their advantage to make a better tattoo. It seems like everyone else kind of tried to work around it.
100%. And like that is again like the throat tattoos are awesome because they're so visible, because they do really, as the judges pointed out, they do kind of can certainly change the shape of your face. Like we've all seen people that have had like very heavy neck coverage that look like they're wearing a bad scarf. Equally, I know people that have got throat tattoos that are just so readable. And like that was what I was so sad about with Pons, basically, because I thought, you know, Nico's pointed out like, oh, Pons was the one that I'd wear. And Pon like really muffed it here, because if he'd have just done a Pon tattoo, like this is again where I think the style thing is a real unfair and unethical thing for them to be pushing. Because if they just said do Beatles in your style and they let Pon do a freaking black, even if it wasn't color, like a monochrome death's head moth on that person's throat, it would have been much cleaner. But he was second guessing himself with the style, and it ended up being wonky and misshapen and like, you know. But that design, as like Nico pointed out, would look wicked.
Yeah, and like I've actually seen people in person with really good death's head moth like throat tattoos. It can be done really well. He just went like it was too dark. Like he went way too dark in the wings, lost so much of like death head moths tattoos. They're meant to really balance the delicate nature of the contrast in their wings and on their body. And he just he went too dark. It's too flat as well. Actually, on a side note, I just remembered it. If you want to see a really, really good throat tattoo on one of the competitors who it actually works so much with the actual part of the anatomy it's on, is Bob. Bob has a phenomenal throat tattoo.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to send you a link. I was just Google image searching things to try and find some of these. And this is by, I don't know who it's by, but you can Google image search moth throat tattoo and just see exactly what you're talking about. There's so many good ones, but like this is a black and grey death's head moth, and it is freaking badass. Let me send you the link.
Phenomenal. Like that is a incredible use of the body, the use of the skin breaks, detail. Like, you know, if you had 2 sessions, that is what you could do. But they only had 6 hours.
2 or 3 sessions on that for sure.
Yeah. So it comes down to Gian and Tony. I think Tony should have taken it, but Gian takes it. And then who do we have on the bottom? You can probably guess.
Yeah, Pon and Katie. I mean, I think I actually would have put Creepy Jason in the bottom, but those two tattoos had their issues, and I think my boy Pon went home, but I think rightly so on the day. It's a shame because I think he choked, you know, like if he'd have just done a traditional even ish death's head moth in his own style, I think he would have been okay. But he sort of, yeah, he second guessed himself, you know. That was my read of it.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Matt's favorite Pon has gone home. Pon's gone. R.I.P. Pon.
R.I.P. Pon. I mean, like so I'm going to send you another link here. So I'm just again finding things on Google Images. The last one that I was just telling you about is by a tattooer called Nico Nerdo from France. This is actually by Body Language Tattoo in Erfurt, Germany. I don't know who the artist name is because Tattoo Do hasn't told me. But yeah, let me put this here. Like, this is, I mean, we can put these links in the show notes. Like, this is the kind of thing. This is by an artist called Satanische Pferde, Satanic Horse, who tattoos at Body Language Tattoo in Erfurt, Germany. Like, if Pon had done something like that, which is on a throat there, a proper, just much more traditional monochrome moth, I think he would still be in the competition.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that is not the case. So, Matt, as we're closing out, what is your take on this episode, and are you excited to watch more?
Well, I haven't learned anything about contrast. Once again, didn't seem to really feature. None of the critiques, even the judging, was about negative space use or shading or, you know, all the other things that we got told contrast was about. And I feel a bit sorry for most of these clients because they didn't get as good a tattoo as they would have done in other circumstances. I mean, look, that applies to people getting tattooed at conventions as well, right? Like, you're probably not going to get a good a tattoo at a convention as you would do at an artist's studio, but you're making the trade-off there about availability and, you know, like getting tattooed by people who you wouldn't normally get tattooed by. But like getting tattooed at a convention, that comes with, you know, you can get tattooed by someone you wouldn't want to get tattooed by, but in a style that they want to work in. I think I don't understand. I mean, this is free, I guess, as you said, you told me they're not paying for these tattoos, but it doesn't seem to me really to justify the decision to let someone tattoo your throat with a design they don't like in a style they're not happy doing on a place they don't want to do in a time that's too short to do it. Like, it's just too many layers of like unpleasantness for me. So, and I'm sure that's going to get worse. I'm sure, you know, the teaser trailer for next week's episode was quite light in terms of what the content was going to be. But I was, you know, joking like, you've got to do the Eiffel Tower in space, like on someone's like butt cheek, you know, or like on their face or something. I just think, like, again, I've said it before, and I'm sure I'll say it again before the end of this season. I want to see a tattooing program. I want to see a program about people doing good tattoos. Oh,
Channel 4, get in touch if there's any Channel 4 execs that enjoy the show.
No one would watch it other than me. Or you. The program would be, I just want to see people do good tattoos. That would be it.
Well,
like,
Matt, unfortunately, our download statistics differ. And speaking of Channel 4 executives that are enjoying the show, if you're enjoying the show, please check us out on Patreon. We have bonus episodes. You can hear episodes like this and our other free episodes early. You can get loads of fun bonus content, all for as little as £5 a month. If you subscribe at the £15 tier, you can actually get a copy of Matt's upcoming book, Painted People, for free, included in your subscription, and it will be signed by Matt and posted directly to your home. You'll be supporting us rather than supporting big evil Amazon. And if you want to hear more from us, you can follow us on Twitter at Beneath Skin Pod. You can find me at Got It at Guineys. That's GUYNEYS. Matt, where can everyone find you, and where can people buy your book if they don't subscribe on Patreon?
You can find me face down eating pavement round the corner from my house. And yeah, the book is available in, as they say, all good bookshops. It's out on the 27th of October, which is terrifyingly soon. I will be, I'm sure, doing some events and some talks over the year. It looks like I'm going to be at Brighton Tattoo Convention in February. But you can buy the book from Amazon. You can buy it directly from HarperCollins. You can get it from the Guardian bookshop, all of which will cost you a bit more money than subscribing to the podcast at the £15 Patreon tier, and getting a copy directly from me. So yeah, and also, this isn't really an Ink Master podcast. This is a tattoo history podcast. I try and sneak in some tattoo history, and we learned today about how not to remove your gunpowder tattoo. But more normal service on the tattoo history front will be resumed, and lots more content on that front to come.
And where can they find you online, Matt? You forgot to plug that.
Oh, you just Google me.
Just read his book. That's all. You don't need to listen to him.
You can use Google.
Exactly. Thank you very much from me. Bye.
Bye.